we're living longer. Employer-paid pensions are largely a thing of the past, and the cost of basic necessities from healthcare to groceries is on the rise. As Social Security marks its 90th anniversary, this vital piece of the American retirement plan is more important than ever. Hello and welcome to Rural America Live with AARP. I'm Tony St. James. Tonight our special guest will answer your Social Security questions, and our friends from AARP will share resources to help you navigate the road to financial security. All right, you ready? Our question of the month. What concerns you about the future of Social Security? Or tell us what Social Security means to you and your family. We want to hear from you. Phone lines are already open. 877-283-7570, 877-283-7570 to share your story. Now we're giving away a flip-top cooler to 5 lucky on-air callers, so pick up the phone, join our conversation. 877-283-7570. Now, you don't have to be 50 or older. You don't have to be a member of AARP to win. As a general reminder, though, you can only win one time each calendar year. And if you're a winner tonight, an AARP volunteer will call you back in the next few days to confirm your mailing address. So make sure to take their call or return their call if they leave a message. And be kind. We'll get your cooler to you very quickly. AARP covers all shipping costs. And if you're not a lucky winner tonight, you can enter AARP Second Chance Sweepstakes online, aarp.org/AARP Live. Or it's a little easier, just scan the QR code on your screen to enter. One cooler given away each month with the winner announced during next month's program. Rules apply. You can win one time in a calendar year. We'll announce last month's winner in just a little bit, so hang on. Phone lines again open. Give us a call, 877-283-7570, 877-283-7570, and join the conversation. We're ready for your calls. Okay, this is exciting because we get to bring back in Sarah Jennings. Sarah is Vice President, AARP, and we've got John Hishta with us, Senior Vice President for AARP. Hey, welcome to the show, y'all.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
I know you're really excited, and I know you'd circled this date on your calendar, so really excited to dig in a little deeper as we talk about Social Security. We also have a Social Security expert set to come in a bit, Steve Richardson. He'll help us to unlock the secrets as we get the most out of Social Security. Again, call us tonight, 877-283-7570. I feel like I need to say we're taking your request all night long, so give us a call.
We want to put John on the hot seat, so call in with those questions. He's ready for them.
I think we've got some tough ones coming up, but first off, 90. Yes. 90 years, Social Security, 90 years old. Sarah, provide us a kind of a quick reminder of what Social Security is and the role it plays.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's incredible to have any program that is as successful as Social Security has lasted for 90 years. And, it's a program that was never intended to be someone's full retirement income or replace 100% of your, the income that you make while you're working. But what's incredible is that President Franklin Roosevelt signed it into law on August 14th, 1935. And that's why we get the fact that we're celebrating the 90th anniversary of the program this year. And we'll talk more about what AARP is doing to celebrate this amazing milestone throughout this summer and into the fall. In 90 years, the program has never missed a payment, which again is incredible and part of why it has been so successful, because people count on that payment every month to make sure that they can put groceries on the table, they can pay for their prescription drugs, and we all earn those payments that we get once you're receiving it with a lifetime of hard work. And at this point, it's incredible. 70 million Americans Americans receive Social Security payments right now. And so just think about all of those checks going out every month and those are checks that people have earned over a lifetime of hard work. And 40% of those people rely on Social Security for over half of their retirement income. So again, this is really a program that is a lifeline for so many across the country. And so this year, we're not only going to celebrate everything about the successes of this program, but we're also talking about all the reasons we need to keep its strength so that the next group of people can get their checks and make sure that they can have the check that they have earned over a lifetime of hard work. So it's an exciting milestone. We're both celebrating, but we're also going to be talking about what we need to do to make sure it's there for the next 90 years.
Well, making sure that something is there. John, I got to bring you in here. Social Security has some challenges. I mean,
it sure does.
We know that. But earlier this year, we had changes announced, then postponed, then reversed. What's happening?
There was a lot of confusion earlier this year coming out of the Social Security Administration. And as folks know, the Social Security Administration is the main agency that handles all Social Security payments, questions that people may have, issues that may arise. And what occurred initially was a new proposal that would have restricted some of the critical services that Social Security recipients can get by phone, which means that a lot of folks would have had to drive several miles to go to an in-person interview at one of the field offices. And it could have taken a whole day out of somebody's, work or things of that nature. And so we went to bat. We got engaged early. We delivered over 2 million messages to members of Congress. We had a nationwide campaign that got folks activated, and sure enough, they were able to reverse that proposal, and people are now able to go back to using the phone and make sure that they can get the services they need.
John, how important is it to have those members and
it's
have
crucial.
them weighing in?
It's crucial. That is the one thing that allows for us to deliver on behalf of older Americans, is folks around the country willing to get engaged and be active and share their stories with members of Congress and the administration on how important some of these things are. And in this case, the proposed changes were such that it would have caused a lot of hardship for a lot of people. And I'm glad that they saw the error of their ways. At the same time, they made sure that the phone lines were secure and safe and people could use them accordingly. And we're in much better shape now than we were several months ago.
Well, and Tony, during this whole fight, I mean, we heard, you're the viewers and listeners out there. I mean, we heard from people all across rural America that they would have to drive 2-3 hours to go to an appointment and, to prove their identity or these other things. And so for us, it was really important that we took on this fight for lots of reasons, but especially for people who live in rural America.
Okay, I'm not quite to retirement age. However, there are others who are.
Yes.
That's important to note. But what about those who are maybe even a few more years away from retirement? I mean, we're talking about Social Security. Why do we need to even be concerned?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if it's not top of mind for everyone, it really should be, because we've earned it from our very first jobs and our very first paycheck. We've all paid into Social Security, and so we expect it to be there when we retire. We wanted to know what people think about Social Security, so we actually went out and we asked Americans from Florida to Minnesota to everywhere in between what they know about Social Security and what it means to them. And here's what we heard.
First thing that comes to mind is retirement and the program that the federal government uses to help with retirement programs for citizens.
Why do we need Social Security?
Why do we need it? Well, if we're not going to give everybody a good paying job and allow for everybody to build up extraordinary savings, Social Security is a safety net.
As you get older in life, and obviously with inflation, that's that extra cushion that you're going to depend on to take you through retirement, to buy your groceries, to pay your electric bill. So I look forward to the time when I'm going to be old and gray, sitting on a beach somewhere and being fortunate to have my Social Security carry me through the end of life.
And do you know how Social Security is funded?
I know that a percent comes out of my paycheck and then a percent is contributed by my employer.
You worked all your life and money was taken out of your check every single payday. It's supposed to be to help us. It goes towards so many things. And then the rest of your life, it should be able to supplement you and help you.
I've been paying into it, and so I would think that I should be able to get it back, and with interest.
With interest. I like that idea. Okay, great to hear stories from people out in the field, if you will, their thoughts and their concerns. Just brings us to the point that we're taking calls tonight, so I hope y'all are ready.
Sure.
We're ready.
Tough questions?
Any question at all?
John's ready for all of the tough questions, so let's go. Yes.
We want to hear from you tonight. Phone lines are open, 877-283-7570, 877-283-7570. Now tell us what Social Security means to you. Do you have questions about your benefits? Get your Social Security questions answered by our expert when we come back. Give us a call, 877-283-7570.
I'm gonna have to say all that again because my mic wasn't out. Okay, and hey, I want to say hello to everybody on the live stream that's still with us while we're in commercial break. Thanks for tuning in tonight. We're so excited to have such a big group out there watching on the stream. And I want to encourage you, if you have a question, you can submit it by just calling 877-283-7570. Again, that phone number is 877-283-7570. And I think we're ready to stump the experts here in this next segment, so you can be a part of that, because Steve just joined us on set. You'll see when we go back live. And so between Steve and John Hishta, and hopefully I can contribute at times too, we can answer all the questions that you have out there. So we'll see. And I think we're about maybe a minute or so, 30 seconds. We're going to go back live in about 30 seconds. So again, thank you for everybody on the live stream for tuning in tonight. And we'd love to get some questions from you over the phone, or you can put it also in the chat. We're trying to monitor that as well.
The harder the better for Steve.
That's
Social Security is one of the most dependable things that we have.
Anybody who's paying into that pot should benefit from getting Social Security, period, point blank. That's just non-negotiable. That should not be touched, because you need that for people to survive.
You work most of your life and hoping to get some out of it, which I did, and I'm grateful for it.
My cousin, and she gets it, and she can't get around a lot, and her health is real bad, and that's her only income of surviving.
I waited from the time I was 16 and started working and paying into Social Security until I turned 65. That's many years to wait to get Social Security and look forward to it.
This was a benefit that was promised to us for being hardworking people, and we contributed accordingly. And I guess, I didn't even think twice that Social Security would be there for me.
It will mean the world to me when I do start receiving it, and anything less than what I'm expecting, I won't be able to live within my budget.
As a society, we need to take care of our fellow citizens. And as people reach the age or the condition where they're no longer able to contribute to the workforce, I think that we as a whole need to take care of all of our citizens.
Welcome back to Rural America Live with AARP. I'm here with Sarah Jennings, Vice President for AARP, John Hishta, Senior Vice President for AARP, and joining us now, Social Security expert Steve Richardson. We're also giving away a flip-top cooler to 5 lucky on-air callers, so give us a call. You could be a winner, and we want your questions tonight, 877-283-7570. Now, if you're not a lucky winner tonight, you can enter AARP Second Chance Sweepstakes, aarp.org/AARP Live, or scan that QR code on your screen to enter. One cooler given away each month, the winner announced during next month's program. All right, coming out of the break, we heard from folks about just how important Social Security is in their retirement. All right, Steve, great to have you here. Steve Richardson, retired Regional Communications Director for the Social Security Administration. But what can you tell us in about 30 seconds about your background?
Well, it's a really good question. I would always, in a comical sense, but I always say to my family, it's the only job I ever had. I literally started working for the Social Security Administration in my early 20s and retired with almost 40 years of service. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that, because there was an understanding as my career went on that it is an extremely important program and it affected so many people in a positive way. And I felt gratification going to work every day. And I worked with a group of hardworking, dedicated employees.
Well, that makes me just kind of wonder, after 40 years, what are some of the common questions, common concerns you picked up?
Yeah, the most common concern, believe it or not, regarding Social Security is, for most people, when to file. When should I file? What works best for me? And the truth of the matter is that there is no easy answer. There is no silver bullet. Everybody's when is going to be different. So I would always emphasize the 3 most important parts about Social Security that everybody has to understand, and that's education, education, and education. Do your homework. Understand that Social Security to the average wage earner is going to represent about 41% of your pre-retirement income. That is a sizable piece of the pie. Do your homework. And once you get your hands around all the moving parts that Social Security offers in terms of rules and regulations, then you can land on the all-important answer to the question of when.
Love it. All right. Got lots of callers waiting to ask questions. By the way, you can join us, 877-283-7570. It's time. Let's go to Ohio. Ohio tonight, and it's George. Hi, George. What question do you have for us?
Yes. How are you doing? Great watching your show. The question I have is, I've been hearing a lot of talk about Social Security being done at a specific time, like 2033. You have any word on that?
All right, who wants it?
Well, I wouldn't say it's done in 2033. I would say, though, that 2033 is a date that Congress has to take into consideration, because they're going to have to do something in order to make sure that full benefits are available for folks on Social Security 2033 and beyond. If Congress doesn't do anything by that date, then that means that beneficiaries only receive about 80% of the benefits that they've earned. And so it's incumbent upon us to bring forth a lot of public pressure on our elected leaders and say, hey, guys, it's time to get engaged in this process and really fix Social Security, not just for current beneficiaries, but for folks who expect the money they've earned down the road as well. And so that's the reason why 2033 is such an important date, and it's getting closer and closer. And the closer we get to it, the harder it's going to be to fix some of the financial challenges that the program faces. And so we're using this as an opportunity, the 90th anniversary, to really launch a public campaign around the slogan, "We've earned it." And we're asking people to get engaged and sign up and take the pledge and really start to put the pressure on our elected leaders to start focusing on this.
Not a new issue at all. This has been years in the making,
It's
right?
been going on for a long, long time. AARP has been fighting to protect and preserve Social Security for as long as it's been around. And so we're going to really make sure that we bring this to the elected leaders and make sure they understand how important it is to get this fixed sooner rather than later. Because politicians love to avoid dealing with difficult situations, and we need to make sure that they don't wait until the last minute to fix this issue.
Well, I don't mind a situation like another call. Let's go to Washington State. By the way, it's Kelly, and Kelly, you're a winner. So congratulations. And what do you have for us tonight?
My question is, I'm going to be turning 62 next month, and my benefits aren't enough for me to apply for and live on. But my husband is 5 years older, and he's receiving full retirement benefits now. My question is, if I file for my own benefits, let's say next year, and then in several years my husband passes away, do I automatically receive spousal benefits at a high percentage, or would my filing for my own benefits impact my spousal benefits?
Yeah, there's a couple of really good questions there. And anytime spousal questions come up, it's evident to all of us in this industry is that this is where most of the questions are. Because what spouses and survivor benefits going forward really tell you about Social Security is it really comes into play in the long-term planning of how Social Security is going to fit into your portfolio going forward. So to answer the survivor question, essentially, depending upon how old you are when your spouse passes away, so if you are beyond your own full retirement age, and if you were born after 1960, your full retirement age is 67. If you are over age 67 and your spouse were to predecease you, you would be eligible for up to 100% of the benefit rate your spouse was receiving at the time of death. Of course, your own benefit that you had been taking and drawing upon will cease, but you will always get the higher of the two. That's how Social Security runs it. Now, by taking your own at a reduced rate, at say 62 or 63, prior to your full retirement age, that wouldn't affect your survivor benefit going forward at all, provided the death occurred beyond your own full retirement age.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Now we're taking calls, but we have something else happening tonight, right?
Yes, we have you all on the live stream. Again, we really appreciate you being out there. And we have a question from one of our viewers of the live stream. And so Patricia asks, and I'm sending this to you, Stephen, is it true that benefits are going to be recalculated for folks who also receive a pension?
Yeah, I think I would give presentations, many of them over my 40-year career, and I would often be asked, Steve, do these rules change? And I say they don't often change, but they could change tomorrow. And what happened in January is they did change dramatically in the signing of the Social Security Fairness Act, specifically for people who are working in state or city or county or federal entities where Social Security taxes were not deducted from their paycheck, so that we're going to be pension eligible. So the question is, it's not the pension eligibility that really came into play. It's, did you have your Social Security quarters in play already? Because it only takes 10 years to vest yourself in the system. So many of these people were given these smaller Social Security payments based on work that they had done back in their 20s and 30s, and now they're in their mid-60s. So what the rules said is, up until January, there was a reduction placed on the Social Security payment. They would reduce it by, in some cases, up to $500 a month. With the repeal of the law, what it said basically is that they would increase your Social Security benefit as if your pension didn't exist at all. And it's called the Social Security Fairness Act. It's a good question.
So short answer is yes.
The short answer is yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm taking notes here, by the way.
Well, and if someone has a question about what the new amount is, they should go to online, check their...
Correct. A couple of things you should do. What this agency is telling people to do is contact their 800 number, 800-772-1213, and explain that you were a pensioner and you have questions regarding the Social Security Fairness Act and want to investigate your eligibility. But remember, the Fairness Act also also came into play if you wanted to draw from your spouse. So you're the pensioner. You didn't have enough paid into Social Security. Can I draw from my spouse? And the answer is yes.
Okay.
All right. Hey, speaking of questions, let's go to Alabama. We've got Dell on the line. Hi, Dell. What do you have?
Hey, thank you for taking my call, and I really want to say I appreciate AARP doing these broadcasts. They always present very complicated topics in a simple format that even someone like I can understand, and I just really appreciate the time y'all take doing this.
Well, thank you for the kind words.
Thank you, yeah.
And the question I have is that my account is telling me that in the future, maybe 2033, that, and I'm 57, that Social Security may start offsetting the amount that I could receive based on, hypothetically, if I had $5 or $6 million in 401k, Roth, and in regular investments, that they may start offsetting at a certain threshold what you can get in your Social Security. And I wonder if that's likely to happen, if that makes sense. And if it does, if I have investments more in municipal or federal bonds or in property, if that happened, would that be exempt from causing me to get a reduction in my Social Security checks?
Great. Thanks for the question. Who wants to take it?
Well, I think, first off, anytime there's a tax question, anytime there's a drawing on a 401k, anytime there's a drawing on any sort of trusts or anything of that nature, you do want to consult with a tax expert out front. Yep. We're not familiar at all with anything regarding any kind of reduction in your Social Security benefit because of these assets. Now, it may come into play that your Social Security income becomes taxable income because of these assets once you start drawing down on them. That's a different subject. And again, consulting with a tax expert is probably the best way to go. But it was pointed out earlier about the 2033 date. There could be some confusion in the two dates.
Well, the only thing I would add, and I'm not sure this is exactly what Dell was talking about, but the other issue here is there has been discussions when you talk about strengthening the program. One idea that some people throw out is means testing, because one thing that is so unique and what really has kept Social Security, the support for it, so strong is because right now we all get what we paid into it based on the formula from Social Security. And so that is something that are discussed. If you have more assets, maybe you shouldn't get as much back in your check, but that is something that Congress will look at and discuss as they're thinking about how to strengthen it prior to that 2033 date.
It's all part of a lot of options that are floated around, one of which is one of the things that people have mentioned over the years also is taxing unearned income as well to help shore up the system. So again, there are a lot of different options out there that the Congress and whoever is the president needs to address when it comes to shoring up the finances of the program. And so it gets really complicated. And the sooner we start getting these folks to engage in this debate and really have honest conversations about what can be done for the program in the long run, the better off everybody's going to be.
Well, does that mean unearned losses? I'll get paid back for that. That's what I'm holding out for. Speaking of holding out, she's been patient on the phone from Missouri, Rochelle. Rochelle, congratulations. First, you're a winner, but you've got a question for us.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. This is the first time I've called in.
Wow, lucky.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And I think I overheard you saying that it's approximately 80%. So I think I might have my answer. So I've been hearing that there's been reductions discussed in Social Security, perhaps down the road with benefits. And I'm on Social Security disability, and I have been for about 10 years. And as a primary breadwinner, my husband has been off and on as a family caregiver. He was born a year before me, and so he's 51, and my daughter's in college now and going to be starting her third year. So I wasn't able to earn as much as I would have wanted to, obviously, and wasn't able to put away as much money as I would have liked. And so, you know, not being able to save as much, that shortfall kind of concerns me.
Sure. Absolutely, and it concerns AARP as well. And we really, 80% isn't good enough, and that's why, John's been talking about how we really want to get people involved, because that 2033 deadline really is looking at when, we can't, the Social Security couldn't pay out full benefits. Now, I think on the one hand, I want to reassure people that doesn't mean no payments are going out and checks just stop. That's right. It does mean you get 80%. So I think that's the reassuring side of the angle. The urgent side of the situation is that 80% isn't enough. I think Rochelle, I really appreciate you sharing your situation and your story, because I think it's a great example of why this program is so critical to so many families across this country, and 80% isn't good enough. And so we really do need people to get involved and help us with making sure that Congress doesn't kick the can down the road even further, and that they step up and try to figure out how we make sure that you get 100% of what you earned past 2033 and 2034.
And I think that's a key point. This is money that you've earned.
Absolutely.
That has been taken out of your paycheck every week, every 2 weeks, every month that you've worked. And so it's a promise that the government has made to the American people, and we need to make sure that it's there for these beneficiaries like Rochelle, who's had many challenges in life, but also for future beneficiaries as well.
Absolutely.
Well, we've made the promise. If you'll call, we'll try to get your questions. It's like this one from Minnesota. It's Donna on the line. Hello, Donna. What question do you have?
Hi, I have a question, and it has to do with my mom, who is 91, almost 92. When she applied for Social Security way back when, she did it, in the office on paper. She never had one of the computer accounts like I did when I applied, and I've changed over to the new one. But she never had one. Does she have to have a computer account at 91?
It's a very good question, and as we were speaking about earlier here, some of the changes and then the unchanges that were being made by the agency effective January, there were a lot of things that really came down the pike, but one of them that is consistent is that Social Security does have the creation of a My Social Security account. There's a number of reasons why it's a good idea to do so. What the agency is basically saying that if you do not have a My Social Security account and you want to do things like apply for benefits, do things like change your direct deposit, you'll be required to create a My Social Security account for yourself, or you may have to physically go into the local office to apply or to change your direct deposit. So when it comes down to cash, applying for benefits, changing direct deposit, it's kind of a security measure is what they're saying. That's kind of where the My Social Security account is lying right now. Those are the mandates that they're kind of saying right now. But, as a daughter, this is a perfect, opportunity for you. Stay on the website. They have consistently pumped out press releases changing their policy in the last 4 or 5 months here. In fact, they sent out a press release summarizing all the press releases they had sent out. So, keep that stuff in mind. Go to SSA.gov. Stay up on the rules. Good question.
By the way, we have Steve Richardson with us. John Hishta's with us. Sarah Jennings is with us, and you're on your phone.
Well, I'm on my phone, but not being rude and multitasking or checking Instagram.
But you are.
But I'm wanting to get the live stream questions into the mix here. So Eileen on the live stream asked, and this is coming to you, Stephen, if Social Security is to pay out for the average 35 years of work debited from my paycheck, why do I have to pay taxes again on Social Security when I file my federal taxes?
It's a great question.
Is that the first time you've heard that question?
It goes a couple of times. Along with, what if I keep working after I retire? Why do they take taxes out of me? Ben Franklin's Death and Taxes.
It's a good question.
Yeah, two most certainties in life, death and taxes. Regarding taxing Social Security income, and I think this is where the question comes from, it kind of grew out of the 1983 Social Security Reform Act, which is the last time that we can all agree on that there was any sort of sweeping reform to solidify the Social Security trust funds for Social Security. And one of the amendments in the bill was to tax Social Security income. Why would it be on a Social Security bill? Is because all the tax revenues generated as a result of taxing income go right back into the Social Security trust funds. They don't go into general tax revenues. So yes, is Social Security income, and can it be taxable income? Absolutely. I mean, for example, if you're filing a joint tax return, if you've got combined income of greater than $44,000 a year, you and your spouse could be taxed on about 85% of your Social Security income. Again, great time to consult with a tax expert as well.
I will say a couple of things, though. They never allowed for cost of living increases with the change in the thresholds when they did this in 1983. Just as importantly, one of the potential changes that's coming down the pike in the current congressional debate would allow for an increased deduction, which would affect some folks and eliminate some of their taxes that they do pay on Social Security moving forward. Whether that comes to fruition remains to be seen. We have to see how it all plays out over the next couple of months, but that is a possibility as well.
Okay. We mentioned earlier,
yes.
90th anniversary.
Yes.
So we're throwing a birthday party. Okay, maybe not a birthday party, but AARP is celebrating nationwide?
Yes, nationwide. So, you know, it's a great reason to talk about Social Security and to celebrate, again, what a successful program Social Security has been. So all over the country, literally this summer, we are doing events that hopefully all of you can check out and maybe come to one. We'll be at state fairs. I know for sure we'll be at the Iowa, the Minnesota, and the Illinois state fairs, and probably some other ones. We had AARP folks doing some fun games at a rodeo up in Oregon over the weekend. So that was another place. And then in August, we are doing over 134 events just in the month of August in every single state across the country. And so you can find those events by going to aarp.org/AARP Live, and we'll have a link for you to get there. I also think in the next, as we go to commercial the next time, there's going to be a little bump out that will give you a QR code and a website you can go check out as well. But we're celebrating the success and then also talking about what we need to strengthen it for the future. So we're having a little bit of fun, but there's some serious included in that. As we say, we need everybody that's watching this or listening to this to get involved and make sure that Congress understands that, you know, kicking the can down the road is not going to work for something that is as important as Social Security.
Kind of wonder what's the celebration in South Carolina will be like. That's where Herbert is. Okay. By the way, Herbert, we're celebrating with you because you're a winner tonight. But what question do you have for us?
Well, first of all, thank you for the winner notification. And I'd like to say up front, thank you for providing this forum that allows just us regular people to have a chance to speak, hear, and ask questions. The question that I have is related to the present budget that's being debated in Congress. What specifically is in that bill that has an impact on Social Security? And what would that impact be?
That is what I referred to a little earlier, Herbert, when I was talking about taxes on Social Security. One of the topics that they're thinking about doing is increasing the standard deduction for folks who are on Social Security, which would, in effect, eliminate some of the taxes that you pay on Social Security now. And so whether that happens remains to be seen. Beyond that, because of the process, and not to get too much into the weeds, there really isn't anything in this framework that Congress can do or the president can do that affects the Social Security program from a broad sense. That would have to occur during, quote, regular order, and all of Congress would have to participate in that.
Okay, that's good stuff. By the way, we'd love to hear from you tonight. We're toll-free, 877-283-7570. That's 877-283-7570. Now, we'll take a short break, and when we come back, we have a cooler to give away. We'll also announce our second chance winner from last month. Phone lines open, 877-283-7570. That's the number, and as Sarah mentions, a lot going on across the country.
A lot going on.
AARP is working to recognize the 90th anniversary of Social Security. Here's a look at what's happening.
All right. And again, want to say hello and thank you to the live stream folks for being with us and hopefully hanging with us and getting questions answered. We really do appreciate you sending us questions, and I think we can get to another one of them while we're during the commercial break, which I think we'll go to John, and I'll make sure John's mic is still live. But the question was: is it true that Congress borrows money from the Social Security Trust Fund, and if so, do they pay it back with interest?
Yes and yes. That's the short answer.
All right.
They have to do that. They have to pay it back with interest. But yes, they do borrow the money from the trust fund to pay for items in the budget that are not part of Social Security.
Got it.
But they have never not paid it back.
Right.
So that's important to understand too. The full faith and credit of the United States is there, and so every year that they do that, they do pay money back into the trust fund with interest.
Excellent. Look at your short answer. I like it. And again, I want to tell folks on the live stream that number is 1-877-283-7570. So if you have another question, we still haven't stumped Stephen yet. So I'm counting on some of you from the live stream to call in with one of those really hard questions, right? Stephen, what's been the hardest question you've ever received? Or has there ever been a question that really did stump you?
Well, when you do this for 40 years, you do get an understanding of all the rules. And what I can say is the most important part about understanding the rules is understanding the old rules. So when they change, you really have a firm understanding of how the thing works. So there's no sort of tough question. I got to go back to my opening, which is when.
We got 10 seconds.
When to file. That's a tough one.
When to file is probably
it's
so
the
individual.
toughest one.
Yeah,
it is.
It is, and it's so by your circumstances. So we're going to quiet down now.
Welcome back. We're taking calls about Social Security. First, though, we want to announce our second chance winner from last month's entries. And are you ready? The winner from last month, Amy R. Hi, Amy. Guess what? You're the winner from Little Falls, Minnesota. Your cooler will arrive in your home in the next few weeks. For those watching, you can just scan the QR code when it pops up if you'd like to enter the chance to win a cooler. And we still have a cooler to give away, so we're going straight to the phone lines. And guess where we're going? Anybody have an idea on a state? Quick.
Iowa.
Iowa?
Tennessee.
Tennessee?
Massachusetts.
Illinois.
All right.
Jeanette's on the line. Hi, Jeanette. What's your question?
Hi, thanks for taking my question. So I'm getting ready to apply for Social Security. However, I have an adult son with disability. He is going to be going on my record. What's the best way to apply, online or physically in person?
Well, you've got three options, and it's a great question. And again, it's an illustration that Social Security is what? It's a lot more than just retirement.
Yep.
It's a lot more than retirement. And here's a perfect example of it in the disabled adult child provision that says once you retire yourself, if you have a child that their Social Security can determine has been disabled prior to reaching age 22, they could also receive a portion of your Social Security retirement benefit at no reduction to your own. So there's three ways to file for these benefits. You can start the process online. That's no problem at all. Or you can make an appointment with your local Social Security office and do it by telephone. Or you can make an appointment with your local Social Security office and go in face-to-face. Remember what I said? We had spoke about it earlier in the presentation. If you have a My Social Security account established, you can freely file for these benefits online. Personally, I think filing by telephone might be the best way to go here. And the reason is, whenever you're filing a disability claim with the Social Security, these are extremely comprehensive applications that you've got to go through. They're multi-paged, extremely comprehensive. You can freely read them and review them before you file and familiarize yourself with the process, for sure. But it's important that you need to Include everything, all the doctor's visits, all the clinic visits, all the hospital records, all the medications your child is taking regarding their condition. What Social Security wants is more information so they could easily make a decision regarding this disabled adult child provision. I hope that helps.
All right. By the way, we have Steve Richardson, retired Regional Communications Director for the Social Security Administration. He knows a little bit about what's going on in Social Security. John Hishta is with us, Senior Vice President at AARP, and Sarah Jennings, Vice President of AARP. How about back to the phones?
Let's do it.
Did anybody say Maryland last time?
They did not.
Okay, well, I'm getting you now. Maryland, this is where Jean is. Hi, Jean. Do you have a question for us?
Yes, thank you. My question is I'm getting close to retirement, but I've heard in reference to HSAs that if you're putting money into it, that you may need to stop doing that before you retire. And I guess I wanted to know why and how that affects Social Security.
Yeah, the health savings accounts, this is a great question, by the way. So let's talk about Social Security and how it connects to health savings accounts. You're not eligible for Medicare until you're age 65. That's an easy one. That's Medicare eligibility for Social Security purposes. Now, Social Security, the administration handles Medicare enrollment. The Social Security rules are standalone rules. It's not that they don't care what HSA rules are, but they kind of don't care what HSA rules are. HSA has rules of their own, and they regard the tax benefits you're receiving from establishing an HSA. So they have rules of their own. So what the agency would do when HSAs were established and people used them frequently is the Social Security Administration would advise people, speak with your human resource reps regarding what your HSA rules are, because yes, there are very specific rules about holding an HSA when you're within specifically 6 months of turning 65 and you're going to be enrolling in Medicare, because you can't have both of them. So you really have to do your homework there, and this should be everybody on the call. If you have an HSA, do your homework, speak to your human resource reps. They have the information about the HSAs. That's a great question.
All right. How about back to the phones? We've got a winner from Hawaii.
Wow.
Yeah, Hawaii is where we're going. Wow. And our winner tonight is Nathan. Nathan, what's your question?
Yes, my question is, I receive survival benefits right now, and I'm going to hit 70 in about a year and a half. What is the process so I can change to my Social Security eligibility amount? And when should I start the process?
Excellent question. Excellent question. And again, you know, this is really with a long-term planning of survivor benefits. And a lot of folks don't know that if you do lose your spouse tragically, that if you haven't filed for your benefits by that time, you will have the option of delaying the filing of your own. And in this case, till age 70, growing your own benefit. All the while, you get to draw the spousal benefit, which is exactly what you did. So what you'll be required to do in your case is you'll have to contact Social Security, make an appointment, and file for your own benefits at age 70. So what happens at 70 is, this is your maximum rate. So for every year you delay benefits beyond your full retirement age, your increase in your benefit can go about 8% per year. What happens after age 70 is you don't get the 8% increase anymore. So filing at 70 and doing your homework there is really pivotal. It sounds like you're well on your way and you have a great understanding of how this game is played. And absolutely call them, make an appointment, give yourself 2 or 3 months, and have your benefit request that they begin at age 70.
So just to be clear, Steve, just to make this point, it doesn't help to delay beyond 70. You need to take it if you're going to delay it at 70.
I would tell people we're not fiduciaries at Social Security. We're not financial planners. We would say you no longer get the 8% increase beyond age 70. The delayed retirement credit only goes up to age 70.
Great.
This is great stuff. I hope you're picking up something. Maybe you've got a question we haven't answered yet. 877-283-7570. 877-283-7570. Let's go to New York State.
All right.
Karen is there. Hi, Karen. What's the question?
Hi.
as you mentioned, first of all, thank you. I'm all about advocacy, and AARP is number one.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Yes.
Can you explain the difference? As we know, Social Security is not just retirement, as you mentioned. Can you explain the difference between SSD, SSI, and SSAI? And then my second part is, if you have an adult child that was on SSI after because of a developmental disability after the age of 18, because it was based on our income, when my husband becomes disabled, do they start drawing off him now, or is it still continue her own SSI?
Well, let's answer the first question. And there was a caller that called in earlier. Social Security has a provision called Disabled Adult Child's Benefits, or DAC benefits. If you can prove your child has been disabled prior to age 22, once you or your spouse files for their own retirement benefits, provided Social Security can prove this medically, that child could be eligible, or your disabled adult child could be eligible for benefits under your account, number one. If your child is on SSI at that time, Social Security will require that you do file the disabled adult child's benefit, because SSI is a needs-based program. And to go back to your first question, what's the fundamental difference between Social Security disability insurance and supplemental security income, SSI is a needs-based program that one does not need to pay into to one day draw from. Social Security disability insurance, written into law in the mid-50s, said, hey, you're paying into this retirement program. If you become disabled, you should be able to draw your retirement benefits in the form of a disability insurance payment. And that's what Social Security disability insurance is. You have to pay into by working the 6.2% matched by your employer, or the 12.4% on your own if you're self-employed. That's the fundamental difference between the two. So absolutely, Social Security, if your child is on SSI, they will screen you for eligibility. That's their job.
I'm just sitting here just soaking up 40 years of knowledge that you have with this.
And nobody stumped them yet.
I know.
Let's try. Let's try.
Yeah.
We're headed to the Lone Star State. We have another winner, and it's Jackie. Hi, Jackie. Congratulations. And let's see if we can stump Steve.
Well, thank you. I'm surprised that I'm a winner. I have learned a lot tonight. None of it applies to my situation, but I have learned a lot, and it's been very interesting. So my question is this. What recommendations do you have for Congress to shore up the Social Security Fund? What could they do to increase the fund?
Well, there's a lot of different options, Jackie, that are on the table that have been discussed. Everything from lifting the income cap, which now is set at, I believe, roughly around $150,000 a year. That would shore up a lot of the fund if they just eliminated the cap or increased it to another number down the road. Or, as Sarah mentioned, means test those folks who have a lot more assets than working folks who need Social Security. They're among some of the things that are discussed. And there are always ideas that are brought forth depending on the year in terms of what could come next, in terms of other revenue streams that people are talking about. And again, there are a lot of different options on the table.
Well, and I'd just add to that, I think where AARP has been is we just believe it must be a bipartisan solution. This is such an important program that is so important. As I said earlier, 70 million Americans rely on this for putting food on the table or paying for prescription drugs. So we are expecting Congress to work together to figure this out. And as John described, there's lots of different options out there. And so we don't need to wait to have this be a crisis. We need to have Congress get together, work together, and fix this so that we don't get to that point where we're seeing a reduction in benefits later on.
And to that point, it really is going to take presidential leadership as well. Absolutely, and so we need the president to step up and say, okay, it's time to get this done. And Congress, let's work together on a bipartisan basis so that it is around for generations to come. And only then can we make sure that the program is solvent for future generations. And at AARP, that's why we're so focused on building this army of activists around the country and encouraging folks like Jackie to get involved so that we can bring public pressure to bear on our elected leaders and say, hey, there are millions of people out here who not only care about this issue, but rely on this because it matters so much to their ability to just live with dignity in retirement.
Okay, final thoughts here. We're almost out of time. Steve, there's so much that we've covered, but what are your final thoughts?
Well, we spoke frequently tonight about the My Social Security account and the importance of creating a My Social Security account for yourself. In my 40 years of working and all the presentations I'd give to people, this was my elevator speech, if you will. There's two reasons to create a Social Security account for yourself. One is before you file, and the other is, of course, having one after you file. Why would you need a Social Security account before you file? To educate yourself. Education, education, education. The only way to get, if you're younger than age 60, the only way you can get your hands on your Social Security statement telling you how much and when is by creating a My Social Security account for yourself. Do it. You'll do yourself a favor. They've upped the ante regarding the security measures for one to create an account. Go on SSA.gov and do it. The second reason you would apply or maintain a My Social Security account once in a post-adjudicative sense, once you're drawing, once you're collecting, is so you can change your address, you can change your direct deposit, you can request a Medicare card, you can request a 1099. So keep to those schools of thought.
Okay, final thoughts, Sarah.
Yeah, I just want to encourage everyone. I hope you got a lot of great information tonight. There's a lot of information at our Social Security Resource Center on our AARP website. So if you're comfortable getting on the web, I would encourage you to check it out, and you can get to it from that link that's on the screen, aarp.org/AARP Live. And there's lots of resources on there. There's calculators you can put in about your claiming situation. So lots of different resources at that place. And the last thing I'd say is, as we've said over and over, we need everyone to get involved to make sure Congress knows they got to address this issue as soon as they can. So help us and sign the pledge. Thank you.
Wow. What a great show. I can hear the applause now.
Everywhere.
Unbelievable. Steve Richardson has been with us tonight.
Yeah.
John Hishta has been with us tonight. Sarah has been with us tonight. And by the way, you can come back and join us next month. We'll be right back here. Now, don't forget, when you go out online, it's aarp.org/AARP Live. Do you have that? aarp.org/AARP Live. Make sure you join us July 16th. We'll get your questions answered. Our topic, how to protect yourself and your family from frauds and scams. That's coming up for us next month, so we hope you'll come back and join us. And again, it's aarp.org/AARP Live. Have a great night.